listening to Into the Valley, a Phoenix Suns podcast, a part of the Brightside Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, into the Valley. I am Ethan Shutt, joined, as always, by Philip Russell, and we are coming off of a beautiful Game 2 where the Suns win 129-109. Want to say hello to those listening, hello to those watching here on YouTube. We are part of the Brightside Podcast Network, so if you're listening on any audio platform, feel free to leave a review, whatever the spirit moves you to do. But Philip, can we just go ahead and hop into what is an absolutely beautiful Game 2 from the Suns? How wonderful is it when you don't have to be stressed for almost an entire fourth quarter? It's great.
It was really great, and one of the most impressive things about this game for the Suns is you got two pretty bad games from key cogs in the Suns' wheel. DeAndre Ayton, because of his early foul trouble, and then Cameron Johnson, who had flashes in the second half but couldn't put together his usual 25 to 30 minutes of really good basketball. Yet the Suns are good enough to just wipe the Mavs off the floor there towards the end of the game, especially late third and into the fourth quarter.
Honest question here. Did you ever feel concerned that the Suns were going to lose this game?
I have no concerns in this series.
LUKA was scorched earth in that first half. And I don't know what the largest lead was, but I know when he was like on it, they were up 2-4, maybe. I mean, there just wasn't. And again, I'm looking for the worst. I just can't see how this Mavs team hangs with the Suns.
Yeah, and just to tell the listeners and the viewers about kind of our process for doing the podcast, one of the things we've done at the beginning of both of the playoff series so far is to try to develop questions for us to view the series through. So we did that with the Pelicans, and we have a list of questions for this series as well. But the only question that I could come up with, the only thing I was even marginally concerned about was how well the Suns were going to be able to guard Jalen Brunson. And the only reason I was concerned with that was because Devin Booker was coming off of his hamstring injury. So there was Mikhail's going to be good on ball. He's going to make life difficult on LUKA. When LUKA swings the ball to the other side, or when they get two passes to the other side to Jalen, who's going to be there to stand him up? And Booker has looked himself. He looks just fine on defense, which makes life so difficult for the Mavs. Because of that, no concern. Right. We're trending towards being as comfortable as we were last year against the Nuggets.
That was my thing. We talked about it in our Game 1 episode, and we discussed it privately, kind of prepping for the series. One of my big questions was, who are the Mavs going to hunt? And the question was more of, where's the mismatch for them to exploit? And I think what we're realizing is they really don't have one. We saw LUKA try to hunt. I think Cam was victim number 1 at first. I think Cam was the first victim. Biyombo was victim number 2 when that switch happened. But even with that, that's just not – there's a big difference between LUKA against one of those guys and Chris Paul versus a fourth quarter LUKA, right? There is just not a big enough gap for the Mavs to expect it to work. And so I know we've talked about this a little bit. First thoughts on the game. We've already talked about LUKA and the lack of existence that he had physically. I think he was just slowly Thanos snapping away in the fourth. What's your first takeaway, your big takeaway after Game 2, other than the Mavs just might not have much of a shot?
The clear and sizable gap between these teams. There's a lot of discussion on Twitter. I saw a couple of national guys like Haralabab Valgaris was almost live. He was almost live tweeting the game.
Stop. Hey. I'm not going to let you keep rolling. You nailed that.
Thanks, dog.
That was beautiful.
I'm a cultured man.
That was awesome. I'm sorry. Continue.
So Haralabab was pretty much live tweeting the game, and I think he had a discussion maybe with Half Court Hoops about there's chess and then there's checkers. Mm-hmm. The Suns' ability to play chess against the Mavs is so good, but even still, it's not it's not hidden what the Suns are trying to do in this series. So it's almost like both of the teams are kind of playing checkers in some respects, but it's like all the Suns pieces are kings and all of the Mavs pieces are just the normal ones. So the Suns can move in all these different directions, but the Mavs are singularly focused with their heliocentric offense that they run with LUKA.
That heliocentric. Who would have thought that that word would be used so much in basketball commentary? I think one of my favorite things that I've been seeing are just Maury type teams. That phrase has been thrown around a lot too. We have one guy and we're going to just try to throw a bunch of pieces around him. I mean, LeBron realized he can't fly with that. He had to have a couple other pieces with him too. Like the Boobie Gibson Cavs weren't going to get it done. And that's how I feel about this Mavs team. There is one guy who is legitimately on another level. Like some Suns fans hate him. That's totally fine. He is an incredible basketball player. Offensively, he is on another level. Defensively, I think we saw his limitations, and I think a big part of that too is just the physicality of the game. His legs are getting he was looking rough. Like let's be frank, he was looking rough. But man, they don't have anything. And Tim Hardaway, like someone like that, someone who might go off, maybe that would help, but still not enough, right? Like Jalen Brunson's not dropping 41 against the Suns. I mean, Jalen Brunson's going to struggle to get 20. They have no one to ease the load for LUKA. And I think that's showing. I want to ask you before we really dive into the Suns offense, was there any player that really stood out to you, impressed you for the Suns? Biyombo was one for me that I thought came in, had to play way more minutes than expected, really held his own. It's just such a great luxury to have a third center like that. I wish we could have gone back to last year's playoffs and had some of these big fellas, but any one player really jump out to you after game 2?
No, but besides that's not true. Devin Booker and Chris Paul were unbelievable in the fourth quarter. But the 9 assists from Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder were big time.
Jay was on my list.
And a lot of those were coming off of LUKA not being quick enough, engaged enough, active enough on the defensive end to recover. There were 3 or 4 times in the game when Jake Crowder, some might say, made LUKA look like his feet were just stuck in the sand and like tough. He couldn't move. And then in the fourth, you go, okay, what's he going to do in the fourth quarter when it's not Jay driving on him? It's going to be Devin Booker or Chris Paul. And he got absolutely demolished. But again, Jay and Mikal combining for those 9 assists, that's huge. That's huge for the Suns because that's playmaking. That's secondary, or here's our word from last series, tertiary playmaking that is elite.
I'm learning, baby. No, Jay Crowder was the other one. I know Busy was more, I guess, unexpected given the lack of usual minutes. Jay was also pretty unexpected given his lack of kind of coming into his own this playoffs. But man, he got points quick. You could tell the 3 was falling. That gives him another level of confidence. I also think his physical and verbal irritation of LUKA is going to be nothing but a good thing down the road too. I mean, you've got to know LUKA mentally is very frustrated by the amount of weight he's trying to pull. And if you take a guy like that and add any other distractions, annoyances. I mean, you saw it when he snapped at the guy in the stands, which more than likely the guy in the stands said something idiotic that should have demanded a response. Let's be real, but it's wearing on him. And we talked about this in the last episode. How on earth is he going to do this for a 7-game series, right? Like that's insane to think about. And it's kind of crazy to me too, because I think they made, and I could be totally off on this one. Someone will have to fact check me. But I think they said this is the first time the Mavs have made it out of the first round in a very long time. And so for LUKA and company, this is the first time they're having to figure out how to keep going after the first playoff series. So it's tough. I don't feel bad for them. Don't get me wrong, but it is tough to watch when he just looks drained. But we've talked about so many of the Suns players already. Let's go ahead and move into what I think is the key of this game. And you brought it up earlier. And I'm going to kind of just turn it over to you on this one, but want to at least give the audience and those listening just a little bit of an idea of the numbers for the Suns as we pivot towards talking about their efficiency on offense. So this is so stupid. The Suns shot 64.5 from the field, 52 from three. That is that's pretty impressive, my guy. That is I think I saw a tweet right before we started that it was like the best true shooting percentage from a team since a Clippers game a few years back. I mean, the Suns were on one. So starting broad, the Suns offense was firing on all cylinders. Break it down a little bit for those listening. Break it down for me. Why did this happen? And is it repeatable?
So I just want to throw one more number out that launches us into this discussion. In the fourth quarter, the Suns shot 16 of 19 from the field. That's a whopping 84%. They were 6 of 8 from three for 75%. Now, you got a couple garbage time 3-pointers in there. I know Booker just went. They had put the nail in the coffin, and then Booker just kept hammering the nail with a couple of his threes, and then Ish came in and hit his three. 84% in a quarter is otherworldly. And then to your point, there have been, we did this research last year or the year before last. When teams shoot 50, 40, 90, which the Suns basically did, 2 years ago, you could count on one hand the number of games lost in the playoffs when you shoot that efficiently, or maybe it was the finals. It's just one of those. It's one of those stat lines where you just don't lose in the playoffs when you're shooting at this kind of otherworldly efficiency. The Suns upped that to the 60, 40, and basically 90.
I think they were 85,
89.
87.
If Busy made 2 of 2 instead of 1 of 2, they would have been over 90% as a team. It's just unbelievable efficiency, which begs the question, why are the Suns that efficient? Why are the Suns that efficient? Now, we're going to get to the obvious answer, Suns fans. If you watch the game closely, you are well aware. And if for some reason you're a Mavericks fan watching, you are probably painfully aware of this. But the more generalized answer is the Suns know the exact actions that they want to put the other team in, and then they know all of their options off of them. Several examples. We can go back to game 1 as well. When Brunson in the first quarter, gets 2 fouls on him, the Suns run a set to get Mikal really good position where he catches a pass with his feet already in the lane on Jalen Brunson, and all he has to do is elevate, and as soon as he elevates, Brunson's not going to go up with him because he has 2 fouls already, and he can't pick up a third in the first quarter. Easy buckets for one of the best finishers at the rim in the whole game. There are other times when Jalen Brunson gets switched onto DA and the Suns have spaced the floor well. So you have 4 guys on the perimeter and just DA and Brunson in the lane. The Suns are cool just kind of lobbing it up and telling DA, go get it, big fella.
Work. Yep.
And that's how he got several of his buckets already this series. So all of that to say pretty simply, the Suns get the kind of looks that they want. And then when it comes to crunch time, or when it comes to points in the game that it either feels like the game might get away or feels like a really important part of the game, the Suns start hunting. They start hunting. They try to figure out who on the opposing team is either the defensive weak link, has foul trouble, or puts us in the best position to get the best bucket. And the answer for that in the entire second half really was LUKA. The Mavericks now have a Luka Doncic problem on the defensive end.
Can I read you a quick quote before you continue there?
Go for it.
Jason Kidd post game. This is a beaut. We've got to get other guys involved to help Luka. It can't just be him. Kidd went on to acknowledge that the Suns had a ton of success hunting Doncic and said the Mavs have to do a better job, quote, protecting him. I mean, you can be self-aware of the problem, but that doesn't mean you can fix it. And again, everyone sees it. Like everyone watching that game from either side, even Reggie Miller, who can't see a thing, he sees it. So, like, what do you do?
I don't know, because 4 different players so far this series have made Luka look bad defensively. CP3, Devin Booker. Those are 2 where if they look bad defensively, who cares? They make the best defenders in the league at times look like poor defenders. Mikal Bridges is another one. A lot of times when Mikal makes a really good offensive play, it's all up here. And for podcast listeners, I'm pointing to my head. He is smart. He can feel like on the little inbounds play where he does a fake handoff and he shows and goes. He can feel where the defender is. He knows if that defender is going to try to cheat up and help on the DHO that they're pretending to run almost every time they run that play. And then he goes straight to the basket. But the big one, and we've already talked about it, is Jay Crowder.
I was dying. I was absolutely dying when Luka had to bite and collapse on a Jay pump fake before Jay took what felt like 8 steps to move 3 feet before collapsing the paint. And I think he had, 2 in a span of a minute? Nice little dump offs to Busy JaVale. I think it was Busy. I can't remember. But like, if Jay Crowder is getting that look, you know you are in trouble no matter what.
So what they're doing is no matter who's guarding Luka or no matter who's guarding CP3 and no matter who Luka is guarding, they're bringing that person up and setting the pick. And they do it with Devin Booker as well. I loved it when it was Cam Johnson. And instead of running a pick and roll, it was a pick and pop out to the wing. And Cam got a couple really good looks. So why does this make for a Luka problem? He is their offense when he's on the court. And this, again, is also pretty obvious when you're watching the games. He carries a heavy load, and he is exceptional on the offensive end. His stat lines for tonight, unless you look at his plus minus, is really good. 35 points on 22 shots, 5 of 10 from 3, 4 of 5 from the line, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. But he's a minus 28 because he was terrible defensively. And again, one of the reasons he's terrible defensively is because he's getting worn down as the game's going on. What are you, Ethan? I'm talking a lot. What are you seeing that the Suns are doing throughout the course of the game to wear Luka down?
I think the big part is, and this might sound counterintuitive, they're not forcing him to pass the ball early. So if you're looking at, okay, we know what the Mavs offense is, we want to stop it, what do we do? Well, let's get the ball out of Luka's hands, right? If you wanted to do that, you would blitz, you would double, you would do something to force pressure to make him make a change. I think the Suns are very content saying, we're going to play you straight up. We are going to be very physical with you, and we're going to make you work very hard for every bucket you get. Now do that for 2 to 3 quarters and then see what your energy is looking like in the fourth. Like they're not concerned about him. And that sounds crazy, but I think if they let him drop 45 again tonight, the Suns still win. Like they are letting him do what he wants early in the game offensively, but they are just making him work so stinking hard. And that's what seems like that's what's wearing him out. Like the only reason this game was remotely close as long as it was is because the Mavs bench mob tonight really stepped up in those no Luka minutes. And that's where the game became a bar fight. It was foul after foul after foul. It muddied things up. It didn't let the Suns bench unit really get going. And it stayed close longer, allowed the Mavs to stay in it, allowed Luka to rest. But I'm just telling you, if that didn't go that way, one, the point differential would have opened up more. 2, Luka would have had to check back in, burning himself out even quicker. And so for me, it's just a marathon. Each 48-minute game is a marathon, and the Suns know he doesn't have the juice to run a good sub 6 mile on that last little stretch, right? I'm trying to make it as runnery as possible for you here.
Appreciate
but like
that.
that's my thing. They're letting him burn out and then capitalizing when it happens. Because in the fourth quarter, I mean, they not only did they abuse the Mavs, they abused Luka to the point where it wasn't just Suns fans trolling on Twitter. Everyone saw what was happening. So it is what it is. I want to ask you, when it comes to Luka, we've got a comment here on YouTube. We're throwing this on the old live stream for the first time. Bridges, once again, unsung hero. How much do you think that wearing down process is attributed to Mikhail's just ridiculous defense on Luka? And I think you can throw Jay in that mix too.
And Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
And Cam. So the first half highlight, Luka did him dirty in the first half. And that was a great play from Luka. But I feel like all of them at different points throughout the game are having possessions where Luka's having to work, which is great. And Cam Johnson got into foul trouble. He had a couple iffy fouls, dumb fouls. That's okay. They're making life hard on Luka. Chris Paul, the same thing. When Luka gets Chris Paul on him, especially in the post, he should score or he should get a decent look. But if he's going to have to bang and back down several times, that's great. That's okay for the Suns when you're looking at the macro view of the game. So I just had 2 more points on the Luka problem, then we can move on. Because this is, Suns fans, if you're listening on, what day is today? Wednesday into Thursday morning.
It's now Thursday? Man,
yeah.
Do I love editing podcasts at 1 a.m. The playoffs are great.
If you're listening on Thursday, I'm assuming you are going to hear and see a ton of talk about Luka Doncic's defense. Now, just 2 more things on it, and then we can move on. Stuff I love that the Suns do. Luka got a quick breather towards the end of the third quarter, and then he comes back out for the fourth. They put him on Cam Johnson to start the fourth. So the Suns come out and they go like this: elbow, snap, elbow, snap. So what they do is Luka's on Cam. So they run their normal elbow set, which is the little drag screen across the free throw line. So Luka's getting hit with one screen, and then they go immediately into their Spain pick and roll, where Luka is either having to switch onto the ball handler
or fight, yeah,
tag the big as Cam Johnson sets the back screen, or jump out with Cam. He let Cam go. Cam got a wide open shot. He missed on that possession, but snap your fingers right away. They're putting Luka in multiple actions. And we have a stat from Twitter that I'm about to share. The relentless attack, putting him into pick and roll, which we've already discussed. Haralabob was apparently very focused. He was very focused on this game.
He really tonight. Cared about this one.
He's a big, when you hear analytics, he's like one of the OGs. He's also, he's a really interesting character.
Man who somehow worked his way into some big positions. Yeah. Anyway,
he used to work for the Mavs. Here's a stat for you. He tweeted this out. I'm assuming it's accurate. The Suns went after Luka 50 times as the screen defender.
Oh my, poor kid.
They scored 1.72 points per chance. If you average that out into a net rating, that is 172 points per 100 possessions. That's unfathomably good if you're a Suns fan. If you're a Mavericks fan, if you're the Mavericks coaching staff, what we have posted here on the screen on the YouTube stream, you have a Luka problem.
So here's my question. And I think I know the Philip answer because we've done 50 plus episodes now and we talk regularly. Is there hope for the Mavs? And I want you to first start with the Luka problem. And then I want you to talk about series as a whole, because I'm guessing you have the same answer for both.
There is more hope for the Luka problem than there is for the series as a whole. You can try to hide Luka. You can try to be creative. You saw it towards the end where they they started just throwing LUKA into the corner. Like whoever's in the corner, that's who you're going to start the possession on, because that gives you an opportunity to then hand off as the guy's running up to set the screen for the pick and roll. That gives you a chance for someone else, anybody else. They even did it with Kleba one time. Kleba was the guy who handed off, and then CP3 cooked him too. That's so like you can do stuff like that. As a whole, does it seem like the Mavs have any chance to win this series? Here's a Philip answer. No.
Yeah.
No. They're outclassed.
100%. Another comment there. Bridges fought over screens the whole second half, made steals, and wanted to stay over LUKA. We talked about that because Philip and I watched this one on Party together. Mikhail was doing everything humanly possible to fight over that screen and just stick on him. And can you imagine how annoying that would be? I mean, there's a reason that the guy's just straight cooked. And again, we're looking one game here, but my answer again, is there hope for the Mavs? I mean, there's no way. Like if he looks this tired after game 2, how's he going to look after game 3? And if I'm not mistaken, it's a one day of rest between every game this series. And there's no double.
This is a weird schedule. So the games that played tonight are the next playoff games that will be played on Friday. Mm-hmm. So Philly and Miami turn around and play Friday, and so do the Mavericks and the Suns. And then Boston, Milwaukee, Dubs, Grizzlies don't come back until Saturday. And then Suns, Dallas, Miami, Philly again on Sunday. So there's a chance, like a very real possibility, that the Suns can close out the Mavericks on Sunday.
I say that pushes the Warriors series potentially longer, right? If it continues to stretch, which is not to be too presumptive here, but you could see potentially, let me clarify, if the Suns were to sweep, their series would end on Sunday.
Yes.
And Grizzlies Warriors aren't playing game 3 till Saturday?
They play game 3 on Saturday, and then they should be every other day until game 7.
And that one's at least going 5.
At least going 5. That's correct.
That is very interesting. I will not assume anything, but that is very interesting and potentially very good for our Suns. So we'll see what happens. I want to close by just saying, you're looking at game 2. We've seen how the Suns have gone about killing the Mavs. And I think tonight was another example of what we talked about after game 1, death by 1,000 cuts, right? Like you're going to just repeatedly get worn down. We are going to repeatedly run the same annoying sets that you cannot stop. And the beauty of it is, and you've called this out while we're watching, they've got they pound their fists together? Is that their Spain pick and roll play? So
yeah, so it's like this.
Yeah.
Your fist on top of each other.
You're doing the mashed potatoes for the Wiggles. Got it. Don't know how. I don't know why that's what popped in my head. But yeah, so like they know what's coming. Obviously, anyone with 2 eyes and some basketball tape knows what's coming. They can't do a thing about it. I loved when Cam was doing it with the pop out because I think he had 3 open looks in 2 minutes. Like the Mavs, I don't know. I want us to close by. I want you to put your brain in Jason Kidd's brain right now. You are Coach Jason Kidd. You have watched game 1 and 2. You've seen your superstar play like a superstar, and you've seen the rest of your dudes look like regular dudes. What do you do going into game 3 that would actually allow you to think there's a different outcome?
I listened to a lot of the mismatch with Verno and KOC. Part of me, just for KOC, wants to say, get Frankie Smoke some more minutes. Just try him out.
Might as well see what happens.
See if you can get Dorian Finney-Smith to not have 3 fouls in the first half. See if you can get Frankie Smokes. And maybe that's the move. Go small and let Frankie Smokes be. For those of you who don't know, I'm using like some NBA jargon right now.
I was going to say, please explain our beautiful ex-Knicks point guard for the fans.
That's Frank Ntilikina. So he's called Frankie Smokes. maybe that's it. That he plays a small ball 5, and then you just roll with Dorian Finney-Smith, LUKA, Jalen, Reggie Bullock, and Frank. Not as much shooting probably with that group, but you would think maybe that's better defensively. You're still probably then leaving Jalen Brunson guarding Mikal Bridges, which he might be barbecue chicken against Mikal anyways.
Now, weird follow-up that I just had pop in my head as we're talking about what rotations the Mavs can throw at the Suns. When you look at the Suns rotations, not to say that much of what they're doing is predicated, I would say, or like, let's just say it this way. Their hands not being forced. They counter when they want to counter, right? They do their thing. There were long stretches without Ayton when the Mavs went small, and a lot of that was foul trouble. We got to the point in the game where you might see Ayton come back if this was a game that you feel like you need the extra push. We didn't see that happen. When the Mavs go small, do you think the Suns matching them is still the best option, or do you think you put Ayton in against the small lineup and let him go to work? Because that's usually when they switch more, right? When they've gone small, that's when they start switching everything, which seemed to kind of stunt Ayton's opportunities end of game 1, if I'm not mistaken. Do you think them doing anything drastic could really change the Suns' MO?
No. Because what the Suns are going to do is the Suns are still going to pick. Let's say the Mavs start switching and maybe they have enough length to make life difficult on DA. There are 2 counters to that. If you're running enough picks in one possession, you're going to target a guy like Jalen Brunson or Josh Green to end up on DA
underneath, which we saw they did it and it worked just fine.
They have to front. If there's more than 5 seconds left, they have to front. The Suns, if you've watched the Suns all year, you know they're counter to that. Mikal or Jay flashes in an instant. They see it and they flash to the nail. They get the pass, they lob it over to DA, easy money. If they play behind, DA's going to get himself to the middle of the lane, catch, and just immediately go up. And his sky hook was 60-70% this year. So that's going to be a super high value play for the Suns. So DA is good enough to stay in and to punish a small lineup, especially this particular small lineup.
Yeah. Put on your predictor hat here. We saw Chris Paul go crazy in the 4th, though Booker with a petty 3 to take the. Man, that was if I'm Chris Paul, I'm going back to that box score and I'm like, dang it, Devin. you decided to hit all these late game who cares 3s to take the top points. Gotta be frustrating. But looking at game 3, who do you think is more likely to have the big night? A big or a guard?
Oh, for the Suns?
For the Suns. And basically what I'm saying is, no, for the
LUKA,
Mavs?
Yeah.
I was going to say for the Mavs, I think Luke is going to do everything.
Yeah.
Do you think Ayton will right the ship? Because I'm pretty sure he led the team in points game 1, if memory serves. I think he did. Do you think Ayton, if he avoids foul trouble, takes care of business, has the big game that I think a lot of people expected tonight? Or do you think Chris Paul or Devin Booker are just going to absolutely cook poor LUKA in the 4th and end up with 30 points again?
Mikal.
Ooh, I would love that.
I think it's going to be Mikal because I think you're going to have to see the Mavs start helping more off of our wings. And when that happens, you're going to see Mikal flying in. I could see a 20 plus points and at least 5+ assists from Mikal, and it being just in the flow of the offense.
How much did Mikal finish with tonight? I remember being
he had 11 points, 6 assists.
He had 11 points. Well,
yeah,
he had 11 points. He scored the first 5. We started the game with the Mikal 2, I think, and then the 3 in the corner to go crazy. So I preemptively got excited. I thought the Mikal game was coming. He kind of teased me there, and then he's like, "I'm just kidding. I'm just gonna go play great defense." But no, man. I think we said Suns in 5 after game 1. I will hold us to that. That was the prediction from the podcast. If you were allowed to hedge or change, you still holding strong at Suns in 5?
Yes, because Luka Doncic can go dumb one game. And all you need is foul trouble with Booker CP3 and a big Luka game. And you could easily see a game going the Mavericks way.
Final question as we bring this to a close. And this is actually a question you posed to me as the game ended. Do we think LUKA will go full Nikola Jokic at some point this series? Will he snap and shove somebody?
I hope not. I like Luka. I think he seems like a relatively friendly opponent.
I mean, he's best friends with my best friend Boban. So
there you go.
Through the transitive property, he's gotta be great.
Yeah. Helps guys up, does all the nice stuff or whatever. Don't become a villain. Don't become a villain. Just be the really good offensive basketball player you can. And here's an off-season question, and here's just a little tease. We're not getting into this discussion, but is Devin Booker's defensive prowess enough to make it a difficult combination to say difficult discussion to say who's the best player, Luka or Devin Booker? Offensively, there's no question it's Luka. Mm-hmm. But when you add in Devin Booker's really good defense that he's played this year,
we'll have to table that one.
Yep.
We've already started compiling off-season episode ideas, which hopefully will be coming off of an exciting and positive end of the season. And if not, give me a week or so, and we'll figure out what comes next. But no, if you're listening, if you're watching, we want to go ahead and just say thank you for joining us, for listening to us ramble on for 30, 40 minutes, especially during the playoffs. You guys have been, I just want to give a shout out to those listening, those chilling with us at the 37-minute mark. You guys have been listening to us a whole lot. We had a span of, it was like 3 episodes in 6 days, and it was like, it's crazy seeing how many of you all are riding with us. And we just want to, I need to open next episode. Hopefully remind me of this. I want to thank you guys earlier, given statistical analysis says less of you are here now than they were then. But thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys a whole lot. Thanks to the folks at the Brightside Podcast Network for riding with us as well. We will see you again after Game 3, which will be Friday night in Dallas. And what's the tip time here? Probably gonna break my heart, but I'll look anyway.
It's 8:30.
Oh, it is 8:30. How exciting! You know what's crazy though? I don't know if you saw this. Sundays is a 2:30 p.m. tip. That is interesting here. That is interesting. All right. Well, for Philip, I am Ethan. Thank you all so much for listening. This is Into the Valley Phoenix Suns podcast.
Yeah.